Hello and welcome to your weekly video from DreamSport. As always, you are joined by me, Andy, FPL TeachMode, and today we're going to be looking at the NFL Week 12 Big Super Sunday Red Zone. And honestly, if you haven't done this before and this is your first time viewing this, it is so good to be watching your... It's just all in one place and you get to see it and you get to try and earn some coins. And obviously this week as well, we're also going to be trying to earn some tickets for fan teams. So it is absolutely fantastic. Now, last week, I must say it was not my best week. It has probably been my worst week in about 3 or 4 weeks. But this week we are ready to roll again and see what we can do. And I feel quite good about this week. And I got a few left field punts for people as well. Now, always, let's start with the fixtures. So let's have a quick look at the fixtures. Also with the prizes, by the way, look, you need top 10 to try and get some tickets. Top 3, get yourself one of those €12 tickets, which is always lovely as well. Now, fixtures. If we have a look, Bengals against Steelers. I fancy the Bengals to win this one. Home field advantage. Steelers are really struggling at the moment as well. Najee Harris is still a good play, I think, personally. But I think Bengals, you can fire up people like Burrow, Chase. T. Higgins seems to be struggling, but Mixon's been absolutely killing it this year. So the running backs are probably a good move in that one. Then you've got Texans versus Jets. Unbelievably, we're going to be starting to look at the Texans as options. Someone like David Johnson might not be that bad a shout. Brandon Cooks potentially as well. The Jets I'd struggle with. Maybe Michael Carter, but struggling there a little bit. Colts versus Bucks. What a game that's going to be. I fancy the Bucks are going to do quite well in this one and probably put the Colts to the sword a little bit. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor you cannot ignore. You've got to probably put him in a lot of your lineups. I didn't have him last week. He ran for 5 touchdowns, I think it was. So he absolutely killed you if you didn't have him in any of your teams. But the Bucks are somebody you can trust this week. I think Brady and Godwin in particular are 2 players that I'm going to be looking at. Jags versus Falcons. Tough one, this one. I'm not going to be picking many players from either of these teams, to be perfectly honest. They're both struggling, especially on offense. James Robinson could be okay, but he's been fighting injuries a little bit this year. Falcons looks like Cordarrelle Patterson might not be fit, but we'll have to wait and see. Dolphins against Panthers. Again, I'm struggling a little bit with this one. Panthers, Cam Newton could be a shout. He is playing and he is obviously getting those rushing touchdowns. But the big one for this one is probably Christian McCaffrey. If you can get Christian McCaffrey into your lineup, then brilliant. He's going to be very, very expensive, so he has to do it, but he could be a good shout. And then we got the Pats versus the Titans. I tell you what, the one player I'm excited about owning in this fixture is the Pats defense. They're going to be the most expensive defense, but they are absolutely balling at the moment. They've done it before, they've got pedigree, and they are absolutely brilliant. So if you want to go for the Pats D, then you're not going to be disappointed, I don't think. Giants against Eagles. This is a fixture I am heavily targeting. Goddard and Jalen Hurts are 2 of my favourite plays this week. Even someone like Devonta Smith wouldn't be that bad a shout. It looks like Jordan Howard's going to sit, so that means that Hurts is going to have even more room to run. So that is something I'm definitely looking at. And Giants look like they're going to be without some key players again, so I'm definitely going to be going with the Eagles there. Broncos against Chargers could be quite a high-scoring game. I've always got favourites like Jerry Jeudy in that one, who I quite like. Chargers have obviously been quite good in bits this year. Herbert's been very up and down, but when he does hit big, he hits very big. So Herbert, Williams, Keenan Allen, players like that I think could be still good shouts. Eckler has been on another level this year and is going to be one of my favourite picks too. Green Bay Packers versus LA Rams. I think this is going to be another high-scoring game, although it looks like Aaron Rodgers might not be playing. If he doesn't play, that is a big hit to a lot of their key players. A.J. Dillon is a shout if Aaron Jones sits, but it looks like Aaron Jones might be a game-time decision. And Devontae Adams usually does well, but obviously without Rodgers, he does take a slight dip. Rams, you've got to fire up Cooper Kupp. If you can get him into your team, Cooper Kupp is always a good shout because he is on another level this year. And then the 49ers and the Vikings. I think the Vikings are starting to really come good now, and this always happens with Kirk Cousins. He always does well towards the end of the year. Kirk Cousins is a good shout this week. I also think that Justin Jefferson is always a lovely play. Dalvin Cook could do well, but 49ers haven't been slouches against the run this year. But Deebo Samuel is somebody that you can have a look at too for the 49ers. So let's have a look at building a little bit of a team. Now, obviously, this team could change for me as the week goes on, but I'm just going to talk to you about some of my favourite plays and whether I can fit them in. Now, Jonathan Taylor is still, he's still $2 million cheaper than Christian McCaffrey, and obviously he absolutely killed it last week. But before we look at those, I always pick a quarterback. Tom Brady, 20.5 million. He is somebody that, I feel like he's probably going to do well this week. But I would rather pick someone like Herbert and Hurts underneath him because I feel like they've got more of an opportunity to explode. Hurts is the one I think I'm going to be going for this week. He's been really good for fantasy this year, no matter what you think about him as a player. So the fact that he can run in touchdowns, last week he ran in for 2 touchdowns, and he actually did get quite a modest passing yards percentage as well. So I am going to go with Hurts this week. I really like the look of Eckler this week, and I do also like the look of AJ Dillon, but that is dependent on Aaron Jones, whether he sits or not. I think I'm going to try and put Eckler in there this week. I'm going to ignore Jonathan Taylor. And that could absolutely bite me in the you-know-what, but I'm going to try and go for it. Now, I'm looking down here. I'm not loving a lot of these plays, if I'm honest. Barkley's been in and out. Robinson's been fighting injuries. Darrell Henderson could be an okay shout, I guess. Same with Fournette. Gaskin I don't like much this week at all. But when I get onto the next page, there he is. David Johnson. Now, David Johnson, my goodness, how good was he when he was at the Cardinals? So I'm going to play him because the Jets are just terrible against the run, and I just fancy him to do something. If Houston go ahead, then they're going to run the ball an awful lot to hurt the Jets, and I feel like he could do okay. And for 9.7 million, I mean, he's worth a shout, isn't he? And then, to be honest, I don't like a lot of the other running backs, so we're going to go for wide receivers now. Now, I'm going to wait to put in a big boy here because Kupp, I feel like he's going to do well every week, and if you can get him in, absolutely brilliant. Jefferson, I think, is a great shout this week. I do like Godwin, and I like Deontay Johnson as well. But I'm just looking down, and actually, one of my favourite picks this week is Pittman. I really like Pittman this week, and he's somebody that I think you can get value out of for 15.5. And if we want to try and afford someone like Jefferson, Adams, or even Cooper Kupp, you're going to have to try and go cheaper with some of your other wide receivers. So I'm going to put Pittman in there. I've mentioned Brandon Cook, so I'll keep an eye on him as well. And I look down, I like Ayuk this week. I like Jerry Jeudy this week as well. And I'm looking down, and it does get a little bit thinner later on. Van Jefferson is a shout, especially for 10.5 million, because I feel like with Woods out as well and OBJ not really doing much at the moment, Kupp isn't going to get everything. So Jefferson, and maybe with a Cooper Kupp stack with Jefferson, I don't think it's that bad a move. Now, when we get on a tight end, Goddard is still my favourite. I've loved him so many times this year. Gronk isn't a bad shout either, but obviously there's a lot of weapons in the Bucs offense, so that is something that you have to be wary of there. Pitts, they're struggling. I love him. I love his talent, but 14.4 million I'm struggling with. And then Kittle, I think, is showing a little bit of a revival, but I think Goddard's probably the way I'm going to go. Then, when we got onto wide receivers, hang on. Let's stick him in. I'm just going to put him straight in. New England Patriots defense. If you don't fancy them, go for the Texans. I think either of those are absolutely fine. Now, we've got quite a bit of money left now, and we've got 2 players to pick, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to put Kupp in. Boom. Kupp is in, 22.5 million, and now I've only got 16 million left. So with 16 million left, I think Deontay Johnson, Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, I think you can get these players in. AJ Brown I'd be a bit wary of because of his concussion last week. I think out of all those players, you could go Cooks and then upgrade somebody else, but I think I'm going to go big, and I'm going to go for Jamar Chase. Now, when you look at this team, I think this has got the potential to do really well this week. I think Eckler has got that big play, and he's been absolutely killing it. He gets a lot of those receiving yards, and obviously that's big for points per reception in this format as well. David Johnson's a bit of a punt, but he's so cheap, 9.7 million. New England D is probably the best D in the league at the moment. Hurts can do it any week. Jamar Chase has got very big potential there. Kupp is obviously going to be your safe bet there, 22.5 million, but you know what you're getting with him. Pittman and Jefferson. Pittman, obviously, I feel very good about. He's had a very good year. Jefferson is a bit of a stack with Kupp, and I do just fancy Van Jefferson to do something that we're not expecting, and then Goddard at tight end. Now, I do have 900k in the bank. I could swap things around a bit. With that money, I could go for Herbert. I could go for Brady if I wanted to, but I do like the Hurts and Goddard stack. Goddard got a touchdown last week that was called back, so that was worth thinking about there. But I quite like this team. I think this team could do very, very well this week, and I'm actually going to enter this tournament. Boom, and I'm in. So thank you very much for joining me this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck. If ever you're on Twitter and you want to ask me a couple questions about it, you feel free. I'm more than welcome to. Remember, you can I've got 2,400 coins there. I could put this in so many times and try and win me some tickets if I wanted to, or try and win me some coins as well. So give it a go, guys. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll be seeing you again next week. Thank you very much. Oi, oi.